Oh my god, look at that. Do it. Do it, you won't, pussy. Hello, my name's Mouse. I do history and video game videos, and since my last video got so much attention, I decided to do another history video. So here it goes. You know when you're at work and your boss tells you that you need to make this giant ship look like an island or the Japanese will bomb you to death? It's like if I had a fucking nickel, you know? In late 1941, during World War II, the Japanese started to invade the Netherlands East Indies, which I just learned were over here, and they were doing this in an attempt to control the entire Pacific Ocean. Real mature, I know. But, what the Japanese lacked in maturity in this situation, they made up for by having one motherfucker of a navy, because they just kind of ran shit in this area, the whole thing. For example, in the Battle of Java, not that one, this one, it was between the Japanese and the Allied powers on February 27th, 1942. One Japanese destroyer got kind of roughed up in the battle, while 5 Allied ships got sunk. 3 of those 5 ships were destroyers. Big deals. 2,300 Allied soldiers were killed while the Japanese only lost 36. What I'm trying to say is the Japanese were fucking hacking. Not only did the Japanese sink 3 Allied destroyers, but they showed up to the fight with 5 more destroyers than the Allies had in the first place. So, in response, the Allies decided to get the fuck out of there. They were ordered to retreat back to Australia. The good news for the Allies is that Australia was only a short distance away. The bad news is they were gonna have to stay in Australia, the country whose main export is bad weather, bugs, and shark attacks. During the retreat, one of the Allied ships got separated with the rest. That ship was called the HNLMS Abraham, was left on its own near the island of Java. It was a minesweeper. No, not that one, this one. A minesweeper is a boat that sweeps the water for mines. I wrote the script. They were used to clear the water for mines to make a path for other boats. And being a minesweeper, its job was to sweep for mines and not fight a battle with the Japanese by itself. HNLMS Abraham, that it didn't have a lot of answers for the Japanese. It had very little in terms of offense, defense, self-confidence, work ethic probably. It apparently only had one 3-inch gun on it. I don't know how big that is in boat gun size or how powerful it is, but it sounds fucking hilarious. Because this versus this, like, what do you want me to say? While 3 inches is perfectly fine for most things, I don't know how it'd stack up against an entire Japanese naval fleet that just fucked up everybody in this hemisphere. So HNLMS Abraham, you have no fucking idea how hard that is to say. Abraham had to make it from here to here without being detected by the Japanese. Every day is an adventure. So understandably, the crew was starting to get a little nervous. The captain had to come up with a plan on the spot and fast. So he gathered up all the crew and was like, what covering a shit ton of trees, I guess? And that's really what he said. He wanted to dress the boat up like a bush. Just for a second, I want you to imagine being on a boat in enemy waters and hearing your captain say the words, "We either make this gigantic metal ship look like an island or get bombed to death by the Japanese." So they made it look like an island. I personally love that instead of trying to like outfight or outmaneuver, just go down swinging at the Japanese, they chose the make it look like a bush option. The crew literally took a bunch of trees from the island, slapped it all over the ship, and called it a day. In hindsight, this was a genius move on the captain's part because it worked, but imagine it didn't. Now you're just the captain of a ship who's floating around the Pacific Ocean covered in a ton of leaves. And I can't even really imagine what the crew was thinking. Like they had no idea if this was gonna work out, and if it didn't, they're out there spending their last moments on planet Earth, sawing down trees on a hot tropical island because their captain had the dumbest idea imaginable besides swimming back to Australia. I don't know, just imagine being told if you don't make this look like this, you'd fucking die. So, they did. They literally made the ship look like part of the island, and admittedly, I didn't look up what the ship looked like all decorated until just now, and I'll be goddamned if they didn't make this shit look like an island. I just imagined it was gonna look like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree taped up to the side of a 1941 battleship. I had a whole segment of this video already written where I make fun of the Japanese for not being able to see the damn thing, and now I'm not sure if I'd see the damn thing, even if I knew what I was looking for, because the Japanese would have never have thought this was happening in 1,000 years. Even if I saw it, I think I'd be too scared to honestly walk up to my commanding officer and say, I think I saw an island moving and speaking Dutch. It would have been especially hard to detect when you take into consideration that the HNLMS Abraham only moved at night, like Batman or my cat at fucking 4 a.m. bro, every morning. See, they didn't want to risk moving around in the broad daylight, seeing as how they were a big ass ship pretending to be an island. I literally can't get over that. This has to be a movie. This is the greatest fucking story I've ever heard. They had to move under the cover of nightfall, slowly making their way back to Australia every night for 8 days. That was nothing but 8 days of crossing fingers if you were part of the crew. And if things got sketchy, they couldn't just haul ass back either, because A, they would have been seen, and B, this boat could only go a blistering 16 miles an hour. I know 16 miles an hour on water might be a little difficult to visualize, so for reference, a short fin mako shark can swim 41 miles an hour. That's almost tripling the speed of our battleship over here. If they would have just tried to scurry the rest of the way there, that would have been one of the most embarrassing high-speed chase scenes of all time. Just a boat covered in grass and shit in the slowest, saddest high-speed chase ever recorded in human history. So every night for 8 nights at 15 miles an hour, the HNLMS Abraham scooted its way quietly back to Australia, and they fucking succeeded. They actually made it. They dressed up their boat as trees and then snuck past the Japanese. I don't even know how I'd react to them making it back safely if I saw this rolling up to port. I don't know if I'd be elated that they made it back or upset that we just got rolled by an army that let shit like this fly. Like, we got beat so bad that we literally had to dress up like Earth to get away. So, I don't know. That's the history of one of the greatest things I've ever heard. If I was the crew, I would have been buying lottery tickets when I got back. I would never stop telling this at bars. This has been Mouse. I don't have an outro.